Hey, what's up everyone? Cauldron456 here. Today going to be doing a review on Icarus Uprising for the Nintendo 3DS. So, I usually don't really do reviews on my channel because I'm usually when I'm recording them, I'm a bit nervous when I'm doing them, and don't think I really do amazing reviews or anything like that. But usually I just do reviews to kind of give people my opinions and stuff like that on the game. So reviews on this channel, though, it's gonna be something that you'll see very rarely, unless I want to do it on a game that I really enjoyed, or I'm seeing some reviews that are kind of being a bit too harsh on a game I do like or think is really good. And that's one of the real reasons why I am doing this Icarus Uprising review today, because just been seeing a lot of reviews lately about Icarus Uprising, and I've kind of thought that they've been a bit too harsh on the game. And, I just wanted to go on and give you my opinion, since a lot of people have asked me so many times, would I recommend this game, what do I think about, and stuff like that. So, this review, another thing why I don't like reviews, I tend to ramble a lot and just go in depth on stuff. So this is going to be a pretty in-depth review. There will be spoilers in this, so make sure if you don't want to see spoilers, don't watch this video fully. But basically, I definitely would recommend this game. I guess that's kind of like ruining the review, but most people already know I really did enjoy this game after my Let's Play on Icarus Uprising. So I guess I'll go on and talk about the story right now. So basically in the game you control an angel named Pit, and you have to go against the army of Medusa, who has returned after her defeat 25 years ago in the original Icarus game, and now she's back to seek revenge and destroy all of mankind. But now Pit actually has been bestowed with the power of flight from the lady goddess Palutena. So now he can fly through stages for the first 5 minutes of the game, and afterwards he's sent back to the ground. So yeah, basically you're going to be going against her army, and also bosses who are her commanders. And not only that, you'll run into your evil doppelganger, Dark Pit, and go against him a few times. But then soon afterwards, and this is where I'm going to kind of get into spoilers right now, turns out that Medusa is not the actual main villain of the game. Turns out she was just revived by the true villain of the game, and that is Hades, Lord of the Underworld. So basically the story just totally changes, and now you're gonna have to go against Hades. But not only that, before then you're gonna have to go against other different characters and bosses and enemies and so forth and so on, to where the game just tosses so many curveballs at you, you hardly ever know what to expect. And it's really thrilling and exciting to see what the next chapter actually holds for you. And from what you're hearing right now with the story and all, you're probably thinking everything is really serious, and that the characters are emotionless and stuff like that. But actually, this is one of the funniest games I have ever heard, with its storyline and dialogue and everything. While the storyline is still kind of serious at times, the game is really lighthearted and really funny, to where Pit is always cracking jokes, kind of being sarcastic, and even Goddess Lady Palutena is as well. And then not only that, even Hades, the main villain of the game, is always cracking jokes along with Pit, and just acting silly and teasing each other. I mean, it's really funny to see how these characters act, and it's just totally different from what I've seen in other Nintendo games. And that's one thing I really like about Hades' character. He actually is very funny, and he's actually a villain that you come to actually enjoy listening to sometimes, with the jokes and stuff he cracks and how narcissistic he is. And Hades, in my opinion, is probably one of my favorite villains, along with Albert Wesker from the Resident Evil series. One character though who is not who really doesn't crack jokes that much at all is Dark Pit, which I already mentioned before, who you're gonna fight. He's basically an evil version of Pit. Think about it as Sonic and Shadow, to where, he's the goofy person who's cheesy, always cracking jokes all the time, and then Dark Pit is Shadow, who's always serious and you know, he's always trying to be cool and very mysterious. But yeah, I mean, I really did enjoy Dark Pit because you know, he's, like I said, Shadow is actually one of my favorite characters in the Sonic series, and Dark Pit is very, very similar to him. So I kind of like how the story kind of has a bit of like a Sonic feel to it with Pit and Dark Pit, which you're going to see a lot in the game. Another character that I really like in the story is Viridi, the goddess of nature, who at first in the beginning of the game, when you first meet her, she kind of seems a bit of a brat, and she's really, really annoying at times, but then later you come to actually like her a lot. But I'm not going to spoil it too much, but trust me, you'll like Viridi a lot more later in the game. So yeah, I guess I'll go on and go into the graphics and the 3D effect right now. So as you've seen in trailers and stuff like that, the game really doesn't look that good. It kind of looks a bit pixelated, and it just does not look detailed or as pretty as other 3DS games. But do not be fooled by those trailers, because when you actually get the game in your hands, it is, in my opinion, one of the most graphically impressive games on the 3DS yet, with its art style and beautiful environments. Because the reason why the game looks terrible in trailers is because Nintendo gives out to the press these certain 3DS capture cards that aren't available to the public. So what they do, basically, it's direct feed footage, but it stretches out the video, so the quality does not look as good. Characters look a bit more pixelated, there are a bit more jagged areas on character models and stuff like that, and it just does not look as pleasant in the trailers. But when you look at it on the 3DS screen, where the game is actually meant to be looked at, it looks gorgeous. You're going to be going through several environments. One area you're going to be going to a castle, one area you're going to be going to cities and stuff like that. Then you're going to be going to the desert, to the bottom of the ocean floor, etc. It's just an amazingly beautiful game. It's not the most detailed 3DS game out. I think that would definitely go to Resident Evil Revelations, but for the art style and everything else, it's just beautiful and stunning. It's definitely, in my opinion, one of the most impressive games graphically on the 3DS. And then it also has the best 3D effect, in my opinion, on the 3DS, because you can actually, not only is it really, really strong and you can see a lot of these amazing effects and stuff like that, especially is really, really beautiful when you're in the flight sections, but it also allows you to dodge attacks more easily, to where you're going to actually see how close this attack or fireball or charged shot is close to coming to you, and you can perfectly time your dodges a lot more easily, which is why the 3D effect is not only beautiful, but it's also beneficial. It actually helps you play through the game and do better. And now I guess I'll go on and go into the music of the game. So the music is really, really outstanding and really well done. Definitely some of my favorite music I've heard in a Nintendo game, where you're going to be running into a lot of rock music, orchestrated. You're going to be hearing jazzy music. There's just so much variety in the music, and it's really, really interesting. And you know, it's definitely one of my favorite things, you know, to hear some of the music in the game. And music is really, really important to me when it comes to games, and this game just nails it. So now I guess I'll go on into the gameplay. So with the game, like I said, Lady Palutena, the goddess, bestows upon you the power of flight for the first 5 minutes of the game, which with these portions of the game, you're going to be flying on rails, kind of like a third-person shooter, kind of like flight sections, and it's kind of a bit like the Star Fox series, kind of has that feel, but also it looks very similar to the Sin and Punishment series. But these levels, these sections in the game are really fast, really frenetic, and really thrilling, and you're just going to be going through all these incredibly gorgeous environments. And like I said, it is on rails, so it's going to constantly be doing things for you by itself. You don't really have to control the camera or anything like that. You're just controlling Pit around on his set path, because Lady Palutena is guiding you, and then you just take down enemies that are getting in your way. But the controls and everything work beautifully in the flight sections, to where, you know, with the touchscreen controls, in the air, you have pinpoint accuracy, which is what I like about the touchscreen controls over an analog, to where you just know that you can have pinpoint accuracy aiming at enemies while you're in the air and using the stylus to aim. But then, after the first 5 minutes, your wings burn out, so then now Pit has to go onto the ground, and this is where the game kind of changes a lot. So basically, Pit's going to have to, like I said, he's going to battle on land. Now you have full control over him, you can control the camera, everything, move Pit around, you're not guided on a set path. And the ground sections are really, really fun, and you know, you're going to constantly be dodging attacks and taking down enemies, and going through other random, like, platforming sections and stuff like that. So it's different from the flight sections, and you know, it kind of gives a bit of variety to the gameplay. But one thing that does kind of fall apart with the ground missions are the controls, and these are mostly with the default controls. So this is where the game has gotten a lot of criticism and reviews, to where Destructoid actually gave the game a 5.5 out of 10. Yep, that's Jim Sterling for you. Yes, I am actually calling out someone in a review. But yeah, the controls though, when you're on the ground, it's really, really frustrating, and it's a huge task, because basically you're not just aiming on the ground, you're also controlling the camera with the touchscreen. So you're basically aiming and moving the camera with the touchscreen, to where, you know, if you're getting in a heated battle, you're going to have to constantly be aiming, but then if things are going all over the place, you're going to have to swivel the camera at the same time, and it can just be too hectic and too much of a task for some people, especially newcomers to these kinds of games, because some people may actually get used to the controls, because I kind of find them pretty bad. I mean, I just have not been able to get used to it, and they've been really frustrating. But the controls are very similar to another game that came out on the DS called Metroid Prime Hunters, where you had to basically do the exact same thing. But you know, not everyone's played that game, and I don't think everyone really got used to those controls. So you know, it can be really, really frustrating, and I found myself getting really, really upset with the ground missions when playing with the default controls, because, you know, I don't understand why Nintendo didn't delay the game just a bit longer, so that they could actually give people the option of using the Circle Pad Pro, so you can have dual analog controls. Because while I do like aiming with the stylus, because you have better accuracy, the camera is just horrid on the ground with those default controls. So it would have been nice to actually, you know, have the option to use dual analog control. But sadly, the game supports the Circle Pad Pro only for lefties, so that a left-handed person can actually use the stylus to aim, and then use the right circle pad that's on the extension. So sadly, no dual analog control. But like I said, it's just my opinion, but I really don't think this control scheme is for all audiences or for all players, because I mean, there are some people who are more skilled and could actually get used to that control scheme, but it's too much of a hassle. But you are actually able to change the control scheme. So the thing is that like, you can actually decide to aim the reticle with the buttons, or you can actually move Pit with the buttons and then aim the reticle with the circle pad on the 3DS. So this is where the game actually becomes more fun on the ground, because if you kind of look at it, basically if you want to move Pit on the ground with the buttons, you press the X button to move forward, you press the A button to move to the right, you press the Y button to move to the left, and you press the B button to go backwards. And then you use the circle pad to aim and move the camera at the same time. So here, basically, don't think that it's actually kind of tank-like controls, because it actually kind of plays like you're still playing with the dual analog, which is kind of interesting, because if whatever way you turn the camera, if you press the X button, you're going to be going that direction. So basically, you're just like pressing the X button to move forward, and then when you move your camera, you're adjusting Link's direction. So it still kind of feels like you're controlling Link with an analog stick, but you're pressing the X button to actually move forward, and then you can press the A button or whatever to do dodges and stuff like that and go to the left and right. So it really isn't a bad control scheme when you actually control Pit with the buttons and aim with the circle pad. So while you don't get the accuracy when aiming with the circle pad, you are able to have more control on the camera, and that's what I like about the control, to where it just totally eliminates all the frustration I had with the default controls. And that's why I've actually really enjoyed the ground sections more compared to reviewers, which is why I kind of don't understand why they haven't really tested out the other controls. So yeah, the gameplay is top notch, everything's really amazing, the flight sections are absolutely fantastic and very thrilling. And then the ground missions, you just have to get the proper control configuration that works best for you, and then that's when the game's going to really be awesome overall. And also on the ground, you also have control of vehicles that will sometimes appear in stages, to where you can drive a tank to go around and drive fast, and you have like a special power to go and use a boost. Then also there's armor, to where it basically gives you more protection and you have stronger attacks. Then there's also a ring that allows you to go around and shoot at enemies, and you also have a shield as well. But the thing is that the handling is really bad, to where you're going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. But still, the vehicles give the game a bit more variety and enhance the experience. Another thing about the gameplay is that it has a bit of more of a cinematic feel, to where you're going to have a lot of dialogue going on between the characters. It's really interesting to see how they interact with each other. They're always cracking jokes, as I already said before, with the storyline. And it kind of has kind of like a comic art style to it on the bottom, to where it's like cutouts of the characters. But the story, while it is cheesy at times, while the dialogue is really cheesy at times while you're playing through the game, it still is very enjoyable, and it's gonna it should be very interesting for all audience, children and even up to adults. And another thing that's really interesting about the gameplay is that you're actually able to change the difficulty in the game. So there's this feature called like the Fiend's Cauldron, to where basically you're allowed to change the difficulty in the game, raise it, to where you can bet hearts and stuff like that. That allows you to where if you have a higher difficulty, it's going to be a lot tougher, but the thing is that you're going to be able to buy better weapons and receive better weapons and stuff like that and get more hearts. But the thing is that when you actually die and when you bet those hearts on a higher difficulty, the game's difficulty drops and you lose those hearts. So you have to really be positive that you're going to beat these stages on this difficulty, or else you're going to lose those hearts and the game's going to drop the difficulty on you. So it's kind of it's actually kind of an interesting setup, to where the difficulty is like having a higher difficulty is actually a reward, compared to like it's a challenge at the same time, but it's actually a reward, to where you're going to get the better items and the game's not going to drop the difficulty on you. So you're going to want to try your best to know which difficulty you're going to be best at when you first start the game, so that you won't lose those hearts and you won't have the difficulty drop on you. And speaking of weapons, I guess I'll go on and go into the weapon fusing. So like I said, when you go through stages and stuff like that, you'll be able to get these different weapons, and it allows you can upgrade them, and then also you can fuse them with other weapons to create a brand new weapon. So there's a whole ton of variety with what weapons you can choose, like their blades, their orbitars, their clubs, claws, palms, their cannons, staffs, and basically each one has a unique, they have strengths and weaknesses. So like with the claws, you're going to be able to do better melee, but you're not going to have as much range with shooting. When you have the blade, it's kind of a balanced, the blade is kind of balanced. Clubs, they're extremely powerful, but they limit your speed, and also the attacks are really slow, but they are extremely powerful. And then staffs, they're kind of mostly for long range, to where you're going to really want to snipe enemies with those. But yeah, like I said, each weapon, it has unique features about them, and they all have strengths and weaknesses, and you want to see which one actually fits for you best. Personally, I like the claws and the clubs, because I actually like to get up close and personal and take out enemies with the melee, with the claws. And also I like to use the club, to where you can just wipe out enemies usually with one hit. The weapon fusing in the game, though, is going to get a lot more interesting when you go and play in the online mode. And yes, this game has online multiplayer, to where you can play worldwide or locally, and it is really fun. So basically there are two different modes in online. There's free-for-all, and then there's light versus dark teams. and you can play with either your friends or anyone around the world. So sadly, there are no communities like Mario Kart 7, which is kind of a bummer because for people like me who already have 100 friends on my 3DS friends list, it kind of leaves people out who do want to actually play against me. Somehow I just have to figure out randomly how to play with other people. But yeah, the online mode is really good, lag-free, and really plays well. Basically, it plays exactly like the ground missions, so you just have to get the proper control configuration for you, and it's going to be really fun, because some people have complained that the online mode isn't as good because of the controls, to where you're not flying or anything like that, but as you all probably heard me rambling for about like 6 or 7 minutes about the controls, just find the proper control configuration that works best for you, and it should play really well. So basically, with free-for-all, fighting for yourself, you don't have to be concerned about anyone. You're just trying to get as many points as possible, and you're trying to get as many kills as possible. But then, when you play the light versus dark mode, it gets a lot more interesting. So there are 3 members on each team. So basically, you're trying to go against each other's team. Light goes against dark, and you're trying to deplete the other team's gauge, so that when their gauge depletes, then they have to, then their angel comes out, which will be either light pit or dark pit, and this is our last hope of them staying alive. So basically, when you're playing against Pit, whoever it is on whatever team lost all the health in their gauge. Basically, when you're playing against Pit, he's super powerful. Has it takes a lot more hits to actually knock him out. But thing is that you're tossed out with a random weapon, so it's kind of a bit difficult at the same time. And also, everyone is going to be targeting you. So you're going to want to be running around, and then you want to also take advantage of your extra power to where you can take out enemies a lot more easily. But thing is that since everyone's going to be targeting you, because they know the moment they kill you, that's the end of the game. They win automatically. So you're going to be mostly want to run around and hide to make sure that your team the rest of your teammates on your team can try to knock out the other team's gauge, and then hopefully knock out their pit. So it's a pretty interesting setup, and it can get really hectic and very suspenseful at times, especially if you just have barely a little bit of life gauge, and then you know someone could be around the next corner, possibly to knock you out. It's very exciting. But yeah, the online mode though, it's really fun. Just make sure, like I said, proper control configuration is gonna help you out a ton. And also, the weapons, as you all know, the higher the value of the weapon, the more your gauge actually depletes. So you want to be careful about that. So even though you're going to have a more powerful weapon and you're going to be able to kill enemies and destroy them a lot more easily, if you die yourself, you're going to make that gauge deplete a lot faster. So just make sure to be careful about that and always be on your toes. So yeah, basically the online mode is an amazing addition to the game itself, the regular game, to where the regular game already has a good amount of replay value, to where you're going to have to go back and collect more powerful items and stuff like that. But the online mode, it just increases the replay value by so much. I've been so addicted to it and just been playing it all the time. I enjoy it a lot more than Mario Kart 7 Online, because Mario Kart 7 Online has more lag. But yeah, the online mode is something that should most definitely hook you. Not least, I guess I will go on and go into the extras for Icarus Uprising. So one feature that the game has is AR card support. So as you all know, the Nintendo 3DS launched with AR cards, where you could play these little games and stuff like that with augmented reality. It was really interesting, but it was something that kind of was just a novelty, to where after you finished playing it, then you kind of didn't really go back to it. It was just something, you know, that was kind of cool to show your friends and stuff like that. And it's basically the same with Icarus Uprising, to where, you know, you're allowed to get these cards and stuff like that, to where in the game it comes packaged with 6 cards. Not all of them are the same, but you can also get cards in magazines, video gaming magazines like Nintendo Power and stuff like that, also in game guides, Club Nintendo and stuff like that, to where they're just little training cards, and you can actually, if you put them, because they're on the 3DS cameras, you can actually see them battle it out and go against each other. And while you don't actually put any input or anything, or actually make the characters do better or anything. It's just kind of cool to actually see the characters kind of duke it out in augmented reality. But it's mostly something that you would really show to your friends, because since you can't play it, it's not like you can really do anything. It's just something, you know, you look at once, but then that's basically it. But you can actually show your friends, and it kind of is something cool to actually show them. So yeah, I guess that basically does it for this review. As you all have heard, Icarus Uprising is definitely a very, very fun game. I have really enjoyed it. You can check out my Let's Play of the game. It was just absolutely amazing with the storyline, the gameplay, and while the controls were kind of iffy with the default controls, when you get the right control setup, it's really enjoyable, and it's quickly become my favorite 3DS game. It's my favorite game on the system so far. And actually, it's possibly, from what I can think right now, it's like in my top 3 favorite games I've ever played, along with Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. It's kind of tied with Ocarina of Time. So this game is definitely a must-buy, and I would give it a perfect score if it weren't for the slightly a bit, you know, I mean, the game's not perfect with the controls, and I would have liked for the system to actually support, you know, the dual analog control with the Circle Pad Pro. I wouldn't have minded them to actually delay the game a bit more, because it's obviously become quite a problem so far lately with many people, to where, you know, the control scheme is just not accessible for everyone, for all audiences. So, but yeah, I had to give this game a 9.5 out of 10. So thank you all so much for watching. You know, like I said, this is like my 3rd review I've ever done. Not really experienced or anything like that. Not professional or anything. But, you know, I just wanted to kind of give you my honest opinions, what I actually think about the game, because so many people have asked me, what do I think about this game? Would I recommend it? Because, you know, people have heard reviews from, you know, Jim Sterling, who you obviously can't really listen to, but yeah, him, and then, you know, other reviewers, people constantly saying, you know, the controls are bad, and people not giving the games, like, knocking off a ton of points because of controls and stuff like that. But to be honest, this game is definitely a must-buy, and it is, like I said, my favorite 3DS game out so far. So, that's basically it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and, you know, if you did enjoy this review, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and also, if you do, or if you kind of know some things, let me know which I could improve on if I do continue to do reviews. So, well, thanks. See y'all. Have a good day.